The Chapter 13 controversy focuses on childhood obesity and early chronic diseases. Just like adult obesity, childhood obesity rates are increasing all over the world. In the last several years, rates have stabilized in the U.S., but there are still way too many children that are overweight and obese. There are some characteristics of obese children or children who are more likely to be obese, those being male, children that are a little bit older, children of African American or Hispanic descent, children that have that come from a family with low income, children who are sedentary, so they have very low levels of physical activity, and children who have one or more obese parents. This increases the risk for obesity. So having one obese parent increases the risk, and having two obese parents increases the risk for becoming obese even more. There are many perils associated with childhood obesity, both physical and emotional. So physically, being obese as a child, first, it increases the risk for being obese as an adult. This increases the risk for higher risk for atherosclerosis or for CVD, so cardiovascular disease in early adulthood. And remember, regardless of one's weight status, that plaque starts forming in veins and arteries. So even if you're healthy, that's a normal part of life, and that's happening in everybody. So if this happens in a child that is not healthy, this can be definitely negative as a child progresses into adulthood. Childhood obesity also increases blood lipids, so high LDL, high triglycerides, and high total cholesterol. And then an obese child will usually have low HDL, which is our good cholesterol. Hypertension is associated with childhood obesity, increased risk for type 2 diabetes, and then fatty liver disease. Emotionally, children who are obese may feel discriminated against, and they may actually be discriminated against because of their weight. They may have some feelings of rejection, they have low self-esteem, poor self-image, this sense of failure, and they really have a passive approach to life, and that could be related to this discrimination, that rejection, low self-esteem. So it's very important to focus on a positive body image and then preventing childhood obesity if possible. So how do you know if a child is really overweight or if they're just, chubby and healthy? So just like we look at body mass index or BMI in adults, we also look at BMI in children. However, it's examined in the form of BMI percentiles. So if a child has a BMI percentile greater than the 85th percent, then they're overweight. And if they're over the 95th percentile, then they're obese. So if you have a child or, even you can ask your mom about a growth chart. So when you go to the doctor, they plot your height and your weight, and this tells you, the doctor, where you are on this percentile. So above 85% overweight, above 95 percentile obese. If a child is overweight or obese, it's very important to not set unrealistic expectations because you don't want to set this negative image on them and make them have a worse self-image than they already do. And remember that there are genetic and environmental influences to childhood obesity, even adult obesity. So what can you do to manage those to help the child prevent any further weight gain? Because one thing that you need to be careful about in childhood is you don't want to promote weight loss, because then this can restrict growth, restrict important nutrients that are needed for normal growth and development. So really preventing further weight gain is what's important. There are many early influences on childhood obesity, including calories and eating patterns. So the family plays a big role in this. So, if the parents don't eat well, then the child most likely isn't going to eat well. So it's important to establish good behavior as a parent. Snacking, we learned snacking is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not a good thing when we tend to choose energy-dense, nutrient-poor snacks. So use snacking as a tool to help meet nutrient needs that may be lacking. Physical activity is decreased in today's lifestyle because we're attached to our screens all the time. Kids have cell phones, they have iPads, they're always playing video games, we're always at the computer doing work. So physical activity time has definitely decreased, which has influenced the increase in childhood obesity. There are also many food advertisements to children. So kids see, Twizzlers on TV, and then they want Twizzlers. So there's a lot of food advertising going on for energy dense foods and not healthy foods. So you don't see a commercial all the time for carrots. you see those commercials for macaroni and cheese or Kool-Aid or whatever. So what can we do to prevent and reverse overweight and obesity in childhood? Again, family matters. So, having the family on board, everyone, working together to eat healthy, because especially if a child is overweight, and maybe another child isn't, if that child has to have a special diet, that's going to make them feel even worse. So if the whole family, can be on board with this healthy lifestyle, that's beneficial. Focus on lifestyle changes first, just like we've talked about with adults. If we can focus on increasing our fruits and vegetables to increase our fiber intake, then that can help reduce our cholesterol rather than taking a medication. Or even increasing physical activity can help to improve some of those health outcomes. So focus on lifestyle, nutrition, behavior changes first, and then medications later, and those would obviously be recommended by a doctor. Obesity surgery is becoming more common in children and teens, and this is somewhat of concern because you have to make sure the child is essentially done growing. So that's still a little bit controversial as well. And again, to set realistic and achievable goals, just like you would for yourself. Key to managing childhood obesity and preventing childhood obesity is to focus on moderation and not deprivation. So consume a variety of foods regardless of body weight, focusing on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat and fat-free dairy products, beans, fish, lean meats. Watch portion sizes. So we all have this portion distortion. We're consuming way too much. Limit saturated fats and trans fats. And then reduce the intake of sugar-sweetened beverages and other added sugars. Not because these themselves are causing obesity, but because they're providing empty calories. They're not providing any nutrients that we need. And so this could be what's leading to the cause of this increased obesity. So really focus on moderation. If a child wants to have a piece of cake once in a while, okay, as long as that's not an everyday occurrence, because we do want them to enjoy their food as well. Benefits of physical activity for children include improving lipid profile, lowering blood pressure, increasing muscle strength, and improving heart conditions. And the 2008 Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans do give specific recommendations for children. They should be active at least 60 minutes or more each day. And the 60 minutes should include aerobic activities like running or playing soccer or whatever, muscle strengthening activities, and then bone strengthening activities as well. So that 60 minutes should include all of those components.